Hi everyone, welcome back to another one. So today we're going to work on this Mugo Pine. I haven't done much on this tree in quite a long time. This was sort of one of the first bonsais or pre-bonsais that I bought, how long ago now? But it was about 4 years or something, you know. And it's a Mugo Pine, and the variety is Carson's Winter Gold. So when I bought it as a nursery stock, it was just like this big dome, and you can see there's quite a few like places where it's been cut for its first sort of styling, but it's basically just it's been pruned back, had a sort of first styling. Me and a guy kind of did its first wiring, and then he told me, like, you know, in a few years it would be good enough to go into a show. It's like a show hin tree, but it's just been abandoned really. I've never really done a lot of work on pine trees, and I'm not that confident with them, but it's time to change that. So because the candles are now growing, I think I can probably pinch these back and try and get some like ramification going on. But you can tell it's just been abandoned because of all the weeds in the pot. So it's had a bit of a rough time, but it's been fed and watered and all that, which you can probably kind of tell from the new growth on it. But it's time I do a bit with them. So I've got a few pines. I've got one, a big one that I'm going to work with, Cas Scott, but I've also got these two. These were repotted last year, I think it was, so I couldn't do much with them last year. But like this one, again, kind of like pre-material, but this one's starting to grow, but I need to tackle it because you can see there's like multiple candles in one place. And then we've got this one which had a brief styling with Nacho Solar. You can tell I've just abandoned this one as well, because look at the wire that's bitten. So that was taken off probably about a month ago, maybe a bit less. So that needs some work as well. But this one, when it was repotted, which was before I started YouTube, so I didn't get it on camera, like the roots kind of were just held on by like one or two strands, so they were gonna fall off. So I've basically cut them off, and it had next to nothing on it. That's why it's got these two big pebbles, because without them, I mean, it might have grown some roots in now, but at the time there was literally nothing to hold it in place. So yeah, so today we'll start with the Mugo, and we'll see if we can start getting some pine work done. This was supposed to be repotted at least a couple of years ago, but just haven't ever got round to it. But I want to start trying to make something of the pines now and learn them, because they probably are my favourite species, along with junipers, like it is with many other people. And speaking of junipers, I had an Ito Gower on that bench over there, completely fine, and then we've had some rain this week, so I didn't come out here for a couple of days, and then came out to check them, to water if they needed it, and it had rust disease on it. So I was absolutely gutted, because I used to have a Cascade juniper that I bought from what was the old Bonsai Fest in Newark, and I couldn't get on top of it, so I just binned it, because I used to have like a massive juniper, like a 5-foot juniper or something, and I didn't want that rust spreading to that. For that Cascade tree was only 50 quid, so I wasn't really losing much. So doing a bit of homework on rust treatment. Just need to order a anti-fungicide in a product, and then we'll try and treat it. So that's just at the front of the house at the moment, just to try and keep it away from my other two junipers, which are now in here. Now we do have a lot of hawthorns around here, and an apple tree, and I've actually just bought an apple tree myself. But I think half the problem is the junipers are just getting too wet in our climate, so I've put them under here now. and we'll start trying to protect them a bit more. So that's the plan with them. So yeah, a bit gutted about that, but we'll try and get on top of it. I was just going to bin the juniper with rust on, but we'll see if we can treat it. Yeah, so for today we'll work on this Mugo Pine, try and get it back into some sort of shape. It's getting too bushy at the top and it needs wiring again. But to start, I'll weed it and then we'll come back and then we can kind of see what's going on more. Right, so we've done the weeding now. That's a bit better. We can see what's going on. So I'll go and get my tools out and get working on this tree. It's not a massive tree. There's my hand for reference. So, you know, it's not massive. So it would make a nice show him one day. So I probably will try and get this repotted this year. You shouldn't work on pines and repot them in the same year, but I'll probably go for it this year. It's sat there for that long, it should be okay. So how we're sort of seeing the tree now, I've just been having a look, was originally sort of the intended front. But I've just been having a look round it. As you can see from all the previous prunes that were done, there's a lot of scars on it where the cut paste is still. So I've just been having a look round. The tree also leans away from you from this position, but that doesn't matter too much because when it does get repotted I can correct that. But I think now the better option would be just to spin it completely round the back and make that the front. So we've already got it leaning to us, we've got a cleaner trunk, and then we've got all this growth. So I think it'll be a case of like, this is our bottom branch, so it'll go that to that to that, so we'll lose this heavy branch on the left, which also, if you look from it from this side, it's also quite fat. There's no taper there whatsoever, because I've been looking at the apex and something needed to change, because if we can see in there, we've got sort of 3 branches and then we've got the one here coming out, so we did need to sort of correct that. So I think that'll be sort of where we go with that. So there you go, that was the front from there, but now we're going to change it to this and work it as that as our front. So yeah, we'll get set up and we'll start tackling this. Got a few tools out, so we'll get started. So first thing we'll notice coming up from the base of the trunk is we've got this new little bud here, which is nice to see, but I don't think I'm going to want anything one that low down or 2 in that position, because it's going to just come straight out towards you, the camera, and block the trunk line. So we'll just take that off. The weather is... I was going to swear that. Crap. I'm sick of this weather. Just a little bit in there, so we'll snip that out. Right, so our first branch is this one on the right here. So if we can see, we've got the 2 end bits, but we've also got this. Now I am going to wire this tree, but this is no good because it's growing on the top. So if I wired it out, it's going to come up and then across. So, and as it thickens up, it's just going to look even uglier. So I'm just going to prune that away. So we'll get rid of that. It's a shame, but it is what it is. So we've taken that whole piece out there, 2 growing buds on it. So that leaves us with these 2 bits. Just pull that brown needle off there. There shouldn't be too much sort of clean up to do on this tree because it's basically done it itself over the winter. So what we'll do now is, see, with pines you get 3 years lot of growth on it. So like, this is this year's sort of growth coming out here, we've got last year's growth and then the year behind. So you can take these needles away further back, which will help it make it easier for wiring as well. But because because it's only in development stage and not show, these are all adding to the tree by photosynthesizing. So you don't really want to prune them off because it's all just gaining energy for the tree. So what I might do is I might just try and wire with those on. The tree will look a little bit uglier by keeping them, but I think I'd rather just keep them on for now and go from there. So what we're going to do, because it's such a short sort of internode from there to here, I can't really wire this chunky bit down, it just snap. So we're just going to have to focus on bringing these bits down and then spread them out and reach up for the sun. So we'll get some wire, which I've got already out, brown wire, so it should blend in just a little bit better, and we'll get that on. So I need a good length, because what I need to do is I need to anchor, well really it's going to be one of these to one of these on the opposite side, and then I'll do the same with the other one. If you wire these two together, it'll just be a seesaw, and they won't do what they need to do with the wire. So it'll be one of them to that branch over there, so you need quite a long bit of wire. There might be an easier way of doing it for someone a lot more experienced with wire, but I can't see how I would do it. It's just going to have to be one wire to one branch and then back over there. Yeah, there's not really going to be any other way of doing it, so we'll do that. So we'll get quite a long piece. I'm not too bothered about sort of wastage with the wire. I'm not a professional, so it doesn't really matter to me. Oh, I try not to hit the camera lens with the wire, but basically we're going to want to come over there, branch like this, over again, it's nice and tight, and then just go to this one. Nice 45-degree angle. Try not to crush the needles, that's why it is easier to take them off, but I'm just going to try it without taking them off, so I can just get as much sort of energy into the tree as I can. So you can see there we've got nice sort of even coils of wire around. There was something else I was going to say with the wire. Oh yeah, so a trick I learned, I don't know, most people will know this, but beginners might not, is with your wire, you can find the end, like this piece here, to determine how thick of a wire you need. If you get a piece of wire like that, see if I move that branch, the branch is moving but the wire isn't bending, that means this is strong enough. But if I was to go down a gauge, for example, and do that, the branch might move but the wire might also bend, that means it's not strong enough for that branch, it's not the right thickness. So that's how you determine the thickness of wire. I mean, more experienced people will probably just be able to do that just by eye of knowing what thickness of branch they need. But that's not me. So I'm just doing it that method, which always works. Say always works, it's not like I ever often wire trees, but I know some basic stuff like that. So yeah, we're just anchoring this now, as I say, to the opposite branch. Just trying to keep these wire coils nice and even all the way out. Because we're wiring this tree, it'll probably be quite a long video, but hopefully it'll be worth it, and you viewers will enjoy watching it. So I'll just carry on, go to the very end of the furthest branch. Get that nice and tight up against that. So if you do crush any of these needles, they'll probably just brown off and die. It's not really a massive issue, but for keeping the tree nice and neat, we want to try not to crush them. And this one I can't get hold of, so it's in the way. But there we go. So the tree's also sort of grown a little more lopsided, so like all the growth has grown more this way, because this was the front and I've always just had the tree facing out that way, so this side is getting more light. So that's another thing, you should always rotate your trees so that they get even light. So if you can see from there now how we've got the wire all the way around, and I have got quite a bit of wastage, but I might even be able to reuse that, if not on this tree, on another one. So we'll just take off that excess, but I'd rather have some wastage like that than cut the wire and it not be long enough, which I seem to do quite a lot, and then that's a massive piece of wire wasted. But you can see now from the front, hopefully that's nicely wired. So like with this one now, you need to be really careful and try and support the branch all the way along, because we don't want to snap anything. If I sound a bit bunged up, I've had a bad cold for well, it'll be coming up to 2 weeks soon, so I'm still just trying to get over that, which is annoying. But say this wire might not be thick enough to bend this big piece, but this was more of an anchor piece, so it might be that we need to put a thicker wire if we want to bend that. We've got a bit of movement in it, so. But what we'll do now is I think I'll wire this one to this one out here, and we can place that then. So I might be able to do it with some thinner wire. Let me just say, it might be about right actually. Yeah, we'll use the same again. That should be plenty for what we're doing. It's a shorter distance. This might overpower a little bit, but let's have a look. So we also want to try and sort of keep the wire tidy, so keep all the wire flowing in the same, so they're all like touching, and then it's not just a giant mess of wires. So that being the case, we'll try and bring this wire up around there, and then at this junction come round this little branch that we're trying to so this tree has been wired just once before, as I say. Me and a friend did it, but that was 3-4 years ago now, and the tree's just basically been abandoned since then. It's just become one of my not lesser trees, but you know, I bought a lot of other trees and been working on other trees, and I don't massively know my pines, even though I do really like them. So I want to try and change that and start working on these more. You see, this would be easier without the needles in place, but I just want to try and keep them on. So now we'll keep the wire tidy and we'll come around this. And then round again. Round again. I don't think he had much biting with wire from the previous wiring of this tree. Might have been a bit, but it's been that long now since I've done anything with it that it's probably just healed over. But I can see a little bit up here, but it's pretty much disappearing now. So I've not touched this tree in so long. It was supposed to be repotted probably a couple of seasons ago, but still waiting. But it's a nice tree, so I want to do something with it. So just to show you now, you see how we've got the wire all together, so it's nice and neat all the way around the branches. There's not really any gaps between them. So that's how we want to tackle this. Just need to change the angle of this tree while I get the wire on this. Got a new small back bud here, so I just want to be careful with that. Say in a show you wouldn't have all these needles further back, it'd be more cleaned out, but this is just tree in development, so I'm not bothered. I'd rather just get as much energy in the tree as I can. See, it's getting a bit difficult though with all the needles. Just pull them out as best as I can, or not pull them out, sorry, move them out of the way. Like so. Right, so cut the tip off that wire. Just there. Bit of wastage. Not too bothered about that. So you can see we've got that wired out now. So now we can carefully position this, put a bit of movement in the branch, and then what you would do is you'd curl your wire around the tip of, say, like the buds, and then you can point them up then to the sun. So we're in like a nice thick canopy. You'd have all the candles pointing up, then it looks really nice. And then with this one now, we can carefully reposition this branch over here, give it its own bit of light. Again, see the candles pointing up, so that gives us that. So now we need to have a look at these. So if we can see, hopefully you can see on the camera, this is the top of what we've got going on here. So we've basically got, we've got an upright bud there, so we're going to have to get rid of that. I've got a bit of sap on my hands, so the tree must have had a bit of bleeding somewhere. So we'll just take that upright growth off again. When I did do this tree, I probably did it at the wrong time of year, because these cuts bled and bled and bled, and they literally for months they wouldn't stop. So I don't know what that was all about. I'd say I've probably done it at the wrong time of year. I feel like I did it in the winter, which you'd think would be alright, but it obviously wasn't. It just wouldn't stop bleeding. Right, so if we can, I don't know if this wire will let me bring this down, this branch, but there we go, that's better. So now we've kind of got like a level pad there, but we need to just put a bit of wire on these two so we can bring them up. In fact, that one is, I was going to say it's really short, might not be able to, but I should be able to. What I'll do with this one though is I will just carefully pluck out the needles from last year, just to make it a little bit easier, because it's not a very thick branch this yet, or very long, so I just need to be really careful with it. And also be careful pulling out these buds, because if there's any dormant buds in it, I don't want to like strip them off. So we'll just carefully go around and pull them straight out where they attach to the tree. So you can see there, that's a bit neater. There's a couple of little needles there, but I've cleared this bit so I can get in there now with some wire. And I'll probably do the same to this one actually, just to show you. So just pluck out. So if anyone's got any kind of tips or see anything with this pine that I've missed or could do or whatever, just drop it in the comments and I can learn from it. As I say, I'm not experienced with pines whatsoever really. I've got a bit of knowledge but not a whole lot, so it's kind of a weird one. Like whenever I sort of research them and when to candle prune and pinch and take candles off and that, it kind of sticks and then like I forget it. So it might just be that because I don't work on them, the knowledge isn't sticking, or I don't know, just me. So just keep plucking out these old needles carefully. So I've got a big Scots pine over there, which is probably 3 foot tall or something. I've had that now for at least a couple of years. That's been repotted and doing well, but I want to try and make it a bit of a bunging style. So I've got a CAS workshop booked in for that later in the year, so I'm looking forward to that. That was an expensive pine as well. It doesn't look all that much, but there's plenty of growth on it. But that cost me £400, so I need to do something with it. So hopefully me and Kaz can do something nice for it. See there now, it's all cleaned out. There is a bit of sort of residue, bit of sap from where I've put the needles out, but that's fine. So we'll get the wire on, and actually this piece from before will be long enough for that. I'm just hoping that because they're kind of opposite, it might have a bit of a seesaw effect. Probably will, to be fair. So I might just have to wire like both kind of separately. Yeah, I'll have to just do that. See, this is where like my lack of knowledge is showing, because there's probably like an obvious way of doing both of them, but I don't know. But we'll just do that. That's fine. I don't know how long the wire will stay on this tree for. Whether it will bite in quite quick or I'm not sure. But I will definitely try and keep an eye on it and start improving these pines that I've got. So I've anchored that along the main branch, and then we just come round carefully to the tip of this one, and hopefully I can just put a little bit of shape into that, as you can see. Now we've got 2 buds coming out this way. Oh, that sap smells nice. And then we'll just trim off the excess wire again, like so. end up. And then, to be honest, I don't need to worry about that one because it's kind of sitting in the right place anyway. So I might just try and bring that back, put a little bit more movement in there. Like that. So now you can see I've got 3 sort of branch tips. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to pull a few needles off this one just to clean up the end of this branch. We are still recording, aren't we? Yeah. In fact, I'll stop the video just for a minute, just while I pluck off these needles and neaten this branch up, and then we'll come back. I've plucked off those needles in there, so now you can see that we've just got the tiny ones, which I don't know if they're new needles or, but yeah, so that's that branch tip now. I say we've not wired that one, it doesn't actually really need it, it's in the right position, so that does that branch. And I think I am going to clean up the needles on this side actually. I may as well keep it balanced, so I'll do that and then I'll come back again. Alright, so I've cleaned up that side as well. The only one that's not really cleaned up is this, so I might do that later, but I'll see. But you can see now from the front we've got like a longer left, yeah, short right, which would have been better as the longer one, a left, and then now we go up to what basically is the apex already. So yeah, we'll work on that. So I just need to see again. So right, left, right. So I need to get rid of this left one. But I just need to see, is there anything I can kind of put in its place? Because I don't want a massive gap over it. But I also need to sort out this junction because it'll just swell up and it's already thicker than this. So I'm just going to have a look off camera and see what's going on. It's cold. Right, so I've been having a little look at the tree for 5 minutes. So originally what I was thinking is this was going to be kind of like the apex here, but actually I don't think it will be because it comes out this way before it goes up. So on the other side of all this we've got this. Now it does go away, but then it comes back, so I think that will kind of create quite a nice apex and give the trunk some movement and some good taper. But the tricky bit is this left branch, because what we need to do is go right branch, left branch, right branch, and then we need to lose this because it's straight opposite that. So in an ideal world we'd have a bit more trunk and then this branch would come up just that little bit higher, but we don't have that. Plus it's also getting, if we can see, quite thick. So I think this is going to go, and then what I'll try and do is off of the apex branch we've got another strong one, and I'll try and force that round into place. So I think I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose this. So they are some big cuts, but I think that's the best thing I can do for the tree. So I'll get out some ratcheting pruners and then we'll come back again. Right, so I've just been thinking as well, before we just cut these branches off, do I want any dead wood? I might keep this as just a little hint of it here from this, and I can always get rid of it in the future if I don't want. But I think with this one I won't bother because I don't think it'll add anything, and this is too thick anyway. So I think we'll trim that back, but I'll leave a bit of a stump and then it can kind of die back naturally, and then in the future we can take it off completely flush to the rest of the trunk line. I don't want to damage any like growth higher up, so we'll leave a bit of a stump. So if I come in, say there, just before it goes really thick, and we'll prune all this off. So this is a big cut, so click, click, that's all that off. So that's what we've taken off. so quite a lot, which is probably why it was thickening up so much there, as well as being in this knuckle. There is a lot of growth on there, so we've taken that off. So the tree looks a bit awkward now, but hopefully we can sort that as we go along. I'll probably put some cut paste on that in a little bit, and we'll just take off, as I said, this front section, and I'll leave that as a stub, but that'll probably get ginned. So I'll take it off just before the branch divides into two, and then we can make that a bit of a deadwood feature. So well, that went through easy. So we've taken that whole section off as well. So you can see there's a lot of different buds there, probably because it was the apex. So that brings the tree to that. So the plan now is this is going to be the apex, and we're going to bend this round to there. So it's kind of gone from looking like a bit more of a mature tree to more of a bare bones basic bonsai again, but that was all not planned growth. As I say, I've not touched it in years, so that was all just what the tree was doing naturally. So it's time to get it back into check and get it underway as a bonsai again. So this is where we're at. So what I'll try and do as well, when I've done with the tree and I'm editing the video, I'll try and find a picture of this tree slash shrub. When I bought it, as I say, it was just like a big dome. Bought it sort of like the winter time, I think, so it was really like golden and nice, but the plan was to bonsai it. But yeah, so that's those two big cuts done. I'm just going to get a bit of cut paste out and just seal those up so they don't bleed. Put some of this cut paste on from Adam from Notion Bonsai, just to seal these up so they don't start bleeding. I need a bit of pieces. I'm sick of this so-called spring weather in this country. It's awful. It's freezing today, windy, it'll probably raining a bit. I'm envious of everyone that's got a greenhouse or just like an outside workshop or something to work on the bonsais in. I'm stuck to the elements myself. So let's get some more on there. I mean, the tree's not bleeding yet, which is good. So it just makes me think that last time I did it, I probably just did it the wrong time of the year, and the tree really was bleeding. Just wouldn't stop. I think even like maybe like a year or something had gone by, and I'd come back to the tree and it was still like leaking. So that wasn't good. So this will stop it from bleeding. If it does, then it'll also stop any insects or anything like that getting in the fresh cut. So I kind of actually prefer working with a liquid cut paste to this, but this should be better stuff. So it's just a bit awkward to use. So there's the two cuts there, but you can see just how much that was thickening up, which isn't good for an apex, whereas now we've got this nice skinny leader. So yeah, that is that. So what I'm doing now up on this branch is I'm just taking out not only like the old dead needles, but I am just clearing out some of the growing needles, because there's a lot going on at the top. So not only will it make it easy for me to wire this branch, but also, like with the previous branch, with it having so much growth, it was thickening up. Now all these needles are gaining energy from the sun, so by having too many in certain places, so like if you look at like the density, say, of all this compared to this is going to grow a lot stronger than this, so you want to kind of balance it out. So that's something you can do, is if you want a completely balanced pine, take out enough needles so that it's all balanced all over the tree. But because this is the like getting towards the apex as well, it's going to be a stronger part of the tree, so we need to take some of these old needles out. So it's not just a case of making it easy for me to wire, it is to kind of not weaken this branch, but just to kind of put it in balance with everything else going on the tree. And also, like, whereas this has got, say, like 3 candles there across those 2 branches, this could have like 5, so there's a lot of energy being produced up here. So we're just trying to balance the vigour out a bit. But one of the things that you can do if you are needle plucking is ideally you want to take them from underneath the branch first, because that will be, it will look nicer, but that's kind of like when a bonsai is displayed, a pine bonsai, they don't have needles underneath. They're going to be weak anyway because they're underneath, they're not getting the light, but you want everything just like on the top, nothing hanging down or anything like that. So that's how pine bonsais are sort of grown and displayed. So I'll just carry on doing this anyway, just neatly up along these branches. I don't want to take them from the tips, although that is something you can do if you really want to balance the vigour out. It's like you might have like 10 needles on that candle, 10 on the other, but I'm not looking to really do that. I'm just trying to clear the branches up. So that, as you see there, we've got all that nicely stripped now. So it helps me, but it also takes some energy out of the tree in that position. So I'll just carry on doing that off camera, and then we'll come back ready for wiring those branches up. Right, so I've cleaned up this cleaned this up of the needles, as you can see, which is where the needles are coming out of. So now we need to sort of examine this branch and decide what we're going to do. So if I tilt the tree towards you, hopefully you can see in there we've got kind of 2 opposite branches, which isn't ideal again, because as they develop they'll create a knuckle here, so one of them probably needs to go. And I'm thinking, like, as we get up to this tip, this will probably go, because what I'm trying to do is think a bit ahead. Because this branch is shorter, you want to create obviously like a triangle bonsai, so it's the same with pines. So ideally, like, it would just be these, and that would create that triangle. But I'm not going to go that far back, so I think because we've got this new growth here, we'll take this one out, and then we've got like a shorter branch. We don't want this to just keep growing out and out and out, so I think we'll take this one off, and then maybe one of the other ones, it depends which one of these I take out to stagger the growth. So I'll just have another look and then we'll come back again. Look, so I've made my decision, so I'm going to go this to this to this. So we're going to prune off this one here. This will also help take out bigger from the tree doing this, as well as structural work. So we're taking that out. We can also pull out those old needles. It looked like we had a bit of a bud there, but I think it's died. I'll leave it for now, just to see. So that to this, and then that new growth. So we're going to take out this one. I'll leave a little stub. So that takes that growth out. And then I think we'll also take out this one, so it'll go this branch to this branch to this new one, and get rid of that, because that is basically straight opposite that. Or could we keep it? Could we keep that? I think I'd rather have 1 to 2, because that's kind of like 3. So I am just gonna. I just need to double check this. If I want to take that out. because I want to weaken the branch as well. So I'm just going to take that out. So again, leave a little stub and take that growth out. So that cleans up. It is dead, that bud, so I might as well just, yeah, it's all congested with crap. There we go. Cleans that out. So there, that's what we're left with. So I'll just put some cut paste again on these little bits, and then we'll come back again for some wiring. Right, I've cleaned that up. So I've just got a bit of 1.5mm out, and that seems to do these little tips that I need to do. And I was just about to say something weird's come out in the sky. It's quite warm, but it seems to have disappeared again. But I'm going to try and anchor these two branches now. So I don't need a lot for this. So just go round carefully, because these are still quite flexible branches. They're not very like woody yet. Just got to be really careful with them. Round over the top of this. Round. Watch those needles. Round there. Round there. Round here. And then just to that candle tip there, and then we should be able to position those little branches now, hopefully. I think the wire's probably just about right thickness, so a little less wire wastage there. So if I just turn this back to my front just for a minute so I can see, just trying to put in a little bit of sort of movement in there. This branch, bring it out. Kind of close that gap a little bit. Just there. Cut off that excess. There. Just make sure I positioned okay. There, and then what I think I'll do in a bit is, rather than wiring this thicker one just to pull it down a bit, if I kind of do that, you can see the trunk kind of pulls as well. So I might try and just like pull both that branch and the trunk downwards a bit, and it'll just give it that little bit more movement here in the top. But we'll come back to that later. So I'm happy with this little branch here now. So now we are coming to the apex, but remember we're saying we're putting this branch over here, so I'll clean this branch up now with the old needles, and then we'll come back to that. Right, I've cleaned up this this back branch, which is going to become the side branch here. So I've got a bit of a thicker wire. I'm not sure what gauge this one is because I've not got the label for it anymore, but we're going to wire this to this, and I'll use that to pull this branch down a bit, which will save me having to like pull it down with a guy wire. So that's the next step. Now this piece I've cut, it won't go all the way to the end because it won't be long enough, but I've already tested, and this sort of next section here is easy enough to move with that wire that we used before. So I'm on black wire now because I've not got any brown stuff that's thick enough. So as you go up in thickness of wire, they do become a bit harder to bend and manoeuvre, so I don't think this one's too bad, but that's typically the case though. And you tend to have to use pliers then to manoeuvre them. So I think this I'm alright with just my hands. So now we're going to come up around this section. Actually, I need to come round that way, get a better anchor. I hope that this works. Try to get that nice and close to the branch. My hands are so sticky off all the sap. Almost goes to the end of the branch, but not quite. Just move those little needles out the way. Right, so that's where we're at now, as you can see. So I need to try and clean this up just a smidge. So if you can, with the ends of your wires from whatever like your front is, so that's my front, you want to try and finish the wire behind and snip it quite close so that it's nice and clean and you can't see like the end cut of the wire. So mine's bent up there around the back, out of view, and then we'll just snip off the end, which is there. So, let me just set that down. Now I might be able to just pull this branch down just a little bit. Just be careful though. See there now. And then this one, I'm going to try and bring that just gently round the side, like so. So you can see now it gives us kind of a back branch, even though it's a side branch, sorry, even though it's coming from the back. I just need to position it just a bit better if I can. I'll just do with a bit more of a curve on that, but I've not got the wire tight enough. There we go, that's down enough. It's kind of got a bit of a lean. There, that'll do. Just snip off the end of that wire further back where it's a bit more hidden. Wire cutters in there. I'm going to buy some better wire cutters at some point. These are just cheap ones. I know I said about keeping that nice and clean so you can't see it, but because I've not took it round this part of the branch, because it's overpowering for that, it's just on show there, but that's fine, it's just a tree in development. So now what we need to do is look at these. So the thing is with this is I've got, obviously this is like the branch tip, but I've also got a new young bud under here, so it might be worth losing this branch and keeping that one that's further back. So I've decided with this branch here I'm going to leave this for now because it gives us that triangular shape on this side, and when those buds there do extend and get longer, then I can prune this off and get the growth tighter. But for now, as a sort of a backup, I can keep this until they get stronger. So I'll go up to the apex now, I'll clean up those needles, and then I'll come back once again. The needles in the apex now, what I'm thinking of doing is compacting the apex, so bringing this kind of down, and then that'll give us some left and right shoots to continue that triangle shape. And then we've got an apex here, and probably remove that one. So what I'll do is I'll guy wire this to that new like deadwood gin that we're going to make, and then we'll carry on then. So I might have to take a little break in a sec because my phone is getting full on storage. So I think what I'll do is I'll have a little break, make myself a drink, and then I need to clean my hands because they're full of pine sap. And then we'll come back and finish the tree. So what I've done here is I've got some of this plastic tubing, put some wire through it, so that plastic tubing will just protect the that branch up there when we pull this down. So what I'll do is, I mean, what I should really do is make this a proper twist, but it doesn't really need it. Like, that'll do there. And then if those wires were to mark that gin, it doesn't really bother me, but at least the main growing branch is protected. So you can see that brings that down. Right, so I've been having a little look while I've been having a drink, and what I've decided to do is, what I was thinking originally was like these two branches is wiring them down, so it would kind of be like here and here, but with them split right across, it just looks weird. But something needed to go because we've got three branches from the same spot. That'll just create a split, a big knuckle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these two, take away this middle one, so we're back to 2 branches there, and then this one here at the back going straight up will become the new actual apex, the leader. So all I need to do now is just take out this one here. So that's what we'll do. So we'll just take out a couple of needles near it first, just so we can get in, and then we'll just prune this away like so. Take that needle out, and there, that's it. So that's pretty much, I think, the actual styling of the tree done. I'm not going to wire these down, as I said, because I think they look a bit weird. So for now I'm just going to leave them, and obviously the apex is going straight up anyway, so that's fine. So that's the front of the tree, which is the camera looking at the front, yeah, straight on there. And then if you come round to the right hand side, and there you see the tree leans that way. Back where we've got some of the previous pruning scars. The left, and then back to the front. So I think the only thing I'm debating doing, as I say, is trying to put a bit of a pull in the trunk by kind of tying it to the pot or something, but I think I'll leave that for now. The only reason is as I pull that way, this branch comes lower to this set of buds, and I don't want that. I want lots of light and air in there. So I think the only thing really that I need to look at doing is just pinching some of the new growth back on these candles. That'll stop them elongating so much, and hopefully then, I've got a bit of sap flow there. I'll have to put some cut paste on that. We'll get some back budding closer up these branches. So that's what I'll try and do. So the bottom's not actually too bad because I don't mind the width, but I want to get it tighter in the top. So we'll have a look at all the candles, and we'll go from there and see what we can do. So starting at the top, obviously these two branches are getting quite thick, so what we'll do is, that's the length of the candle just to there, so we'll do about halfway between that. We'll just twist off the candle like so. That leaves about half of it left. We'll do the same with this one. This one's actually got 2 other candles growing in with it, so if this kind of fails, which I don't know why it would, but say I've not really done this before, so then we've obviously got 2 other candles, so I can look at them at a later date. That one's very short anyway on the apex, so we can leave that. 2 new buds there, they're fine for now. Need to pinch this one back. Just come in, twist, and then same on that one, although it's a little shorter. It's causing havoc. It's a bit short, that one. We'll leave that one for now because that is quite short. This right hand side, we've obviously got a bit of growth here, so I'll try and pinch some of that candle out. And then we've got the two new ones here. Just take the tip out of that. And that. On the back, it's probably the most developed one, so like that. Just pinch the tip out of that. These ones, again, just the tip. That one's a bit short, that one we can leave. And do a bit on that, I think. We'll see what kind of results we get from doing this. Same here, it's a bit of a weird kind of thing doing this, but and then maybe just a little bit on this one. Oh, there. So that knocks some vigour out of those candles. So that there is basically for today the finished tree. So quite a transformation, a lot more area and light. So now it'll just be a case of just keeping it with the watering and the feeding, and then I'll see what happens with the pinching of the candles, and I'll report back when the tree changes. As I say, I've never pinched candles before, so that's new to me. But yeah, it's quite a transformation. It's quite nice, quite like it. So yeah, a bit of wiring today. Not like me and on this channel, but yeah, quite enjoyed that actually. It's just trees like my big Douglas fir that I'm not looking forward to wiring because there's so much to do. But yeah, so what I'll do when I'm editing this video, I'll see if I can dig out the picture of this when it was first bought, when it was just like a big dome, and then I've probably got a picture of it when it was first pruned up, and it was probably quite similar to this actually. So, but we'll try and keep on top of this now and do it justice, and later in the year I'll try and get to a bonsai pot. With this tree, what I remember doing, I don't know why I was advised to do this, but the outer sort of like rim around the pot, I was told to take out Akadama in there, so just the outer rim is Akadama. I'm not really sure why I was told to do that, if I'm completely honest, but back then I didn't really know much, so just did it anyway. But for me, I'd have thought it would be better like taking the soil out, say like the top half of the pot, Akadama in that, and then later on maybe I could cut this away. But yeah, so but anyway, later in the year, I think these are about like October, maybe November, repotting from Mugo Pines. I will repot it, but this can just go back on the bench now. It's a lot cleaner, and yeah, we'll just let it grow. And as I say, I'll keep an eye out and see what happens now that the camera. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed watching this one. It was a bit, well, it wasn't a bit longer. It was quite a long video, I think. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully for any beginners out there, it's kind of giving them a few tips and showing them how to wire a bit and whatnot. So, but yeah, so I'll get it on the bench, and that'll do for this one. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.